Have you guys had a chance to listen to the podcast that I posted an episode to a podcast? I think it was yesterday I did it. If you get a chance, just check out that one episode. I mean, the whole podcast is amazing, but that one episode is all about working to get good at anything. And you guys already know this, of course, but to get good at anything, you have to start doing a lot of that, whatever it is. So if in regards to songwriting or producing, you've got to just crank out some stuff. And a lot of it's going to be bad. None of us are savants here. So, well, not that I know of. You might be. I'm not. But to really get good at anything, you have to just start doing it. So in regards to production, you've got to produce daily. And you'll find yourself getting a little better and a little better and a little better. There is a tendency for us, for some reason, there's a tendency for people to think when they're first starting to do something, and I see this a lot in production, people get so excited that they're able to do something that they're not actually evaluating whether or not it's good. So, and I have done this many, many times, and I still do this every once in a while. If I'm trying to capture a certain sound or record something or get a vibe, and once I finally am able to do it or get it kind of close, I'm so excited by it that I think, oh, this is really good. When after you've done it a few times, you start being able to judge it a little bit more clearly and say, yeah, this isn't great yet. I can do it now. I can finally record that vocal take or do the vocal chops or this reverse swell or something. But just because you can do it doesn't necessarily mean it's ready to really start putting into your music. I see this a whole lot with a lot of young producers because, again, it's the excitement of, oh my gosh, actually songwriters probably do this even more than producers. You get so excited by the fact that, hey, I actually wrote something and there's a verse and there's a chorus and there's a verse. Therefore, it must be good because I did it. Well, congrats. That's awesome. That's a great step. But you've got to learn to put out some bad stuff for quite a while. If I was a podcaster, I would say the same thing. You've got to learn how to put out a bad podcast for quite a while before it actually gets very good. This episode is really good because it talks a lot about that and kind of the science behind it, and that there's nobody. I mean, he compares it to Miles Davis, the jazz musician and writer, that his best stuff wasn't till the end of his life. And he had one particular album that really set the stage. I'm not a big jazz fan, so I can't remember the details of it, but it's really interesting because people think of Miles Davis as like this incredible jazz player and musician, and he is good. But you go back and listen to his beginning stuff, and it wasn't very good. It took time. I was listening to some Jerry Seinfeld stand-up the other day on YouTube, and just listening to some of his original stand-up pieces, and it's pretty awful. It's not that funny. he was actually pretty good. If you go back and listen to Louis C.K., some of his early stuff, he was horrible, and he got funnier and funnier because he relaxed into that skill. Although now his career is dead because of all the stuff that's come out about him, which is kind of sad. But anyway, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that you need to be working on your skills every day. If you want to be a songwriter, if you want to be a producer, it's got to be you got to be cranking out stuff, and you're going to get better and better and better at it. Okay. I think I beat the dead horse there. I subscribed on it to iTunes, but I haven't listened to it yet. Yeah, definitely do. It is so encouraging and it's so motivating. I highly, highly recommend it. The guy whose podcast it's called, his name is Seth, I think Rubin or something. He was interviewed last week by Kathy Heller on her podcast. That's how I discovered him. So I went over and listened to his podcast, and I've been listening to it. It's really, really good. Allison, you say, I feel that same way about almost everything I've recorded so far. I'm learning a lot, but nothing feels like it's all the way there yet. And that's totally fine. That's actually good that you feel that way. If you were just like, oh my gosh, I'm amazing at this, I'd be more concerned about that. But if you're like, hey, I'm not sure this is even that great yet, that's a good place to be, actually. It's a really good place to be. And I am here to encourage you that you will only get better at this. Every time you produce, you're building on all those skills and all those disciplines that you had the first time, and it's all just coming together. It's like a foundation. To build a tower, you've got to build a really good foundation first. And that there's no cheap, easy, fast way to do it. You have to just crush it and go through the grind to get there. Do you guys have any questions? Tony, do you have any questions? How's it going for you, man? I don't think you've ever been on here yet. It's good to see you. Laura says, hey, pal. Hey, pal, back. Sorry for the mix-up today. I'm gonna have to work on that a little bit. Where did my Zoom session go? Oh, here it is. Okay. Going well, man. I haven't, but loving it. No problem. If you ever want me to check out something, or if you have any questions, let me know. I could definitely hit you up. I actually got some great news today. I got contacted today by a production company out of Indiana who would like to license a song of mine. And I have no idea how they found me. In fact, I even asked them, and they said, oh, they just stumbled upon it. But they want to license one of my tracks from my Winter Grass album that I did last year and use it for a commercial. It's a commercial for a meat company, which I thought was pretty funny. So I have no idea how that would work, but we're trying to work out the deals on that and figure out how to I'm trying to figure out how to negotiate, because I'm not going through a licensing agent. This is directly to them, which is new for me. The times that I've had any kind of deal, it's always been through a third party that negotiate the deal. Going well, man. Oh, which song was it? It was, it's the first song on the album. It's called Father Time. It's just sort of about the passing of time and sort of stopping and smelling the roses, that kind of thing. But it's funny because they actually only want to license the instrumental. They don't even want the song, which is bizarre because, in my opinion, without the words and lyrics to that song, there's 1,000 songs that sound like that. But I'm not going to tell them that. Anyway, I have no idea if it's going to be a big deal or a small deal, but the fact that they want to pay me money for it is pretty awesome. So he's working with his client, the meat company, and they're figuring out the terms of all this. So crossing my fingers. It's not a done deal yet. Maybe I shouldn't say anything yet, but I just wanted to give you guys a word of encouragement. Sometimes things just drop in your lap. And literally, I did not pursue this at all. They just contacted me. So this guy found the song, liked it, and contacted me, which is amazing. Awesome. That voice is so good on the song. Yeah, that voice is very good. That's my buddy Cameron that's singing that song. He's just phenomenal. All right, Allison, you have a great day. Thanks for joining us for a few minutes. I look forward to hearing your work, and let me know if I can do anything for you. Have a great day. Yeah, Tony, one thing I found more than anything is the power of a solid, good voice. A vocalist can make and break a song so fast. I can sing. I have taken voice lessons many times in my life. I used to sing a lot at church. I've done a lot of background vocals. But just because I can sing doesn't mean I'm the right singer. And I've found that I'm rarely ever the right singer for any song I work on. So I stopped. I had to learn to just say, going to do that. That's not where my gifts are. They don't lie in singing. Yeah, thank you. That has been actually, if anybody ever said, hey, what has been the key to your success so far? I mean, I don't consider myself super successful yet, but if anybody ever asked me that, my first answer would be learn to do what you're best at and stop doing the things you're not that great at. It's hard to do. It's really hard to do. But what I started, yeah, I think it's pretty good advice too. What I started doing is when I finally decided, hey, I need to start really looking for a different vocalist. I started by putting an ad on Facebook, or announcing to friends and stuff on Facebook and saying, "Hey, Laura, let me unmute you." All right, say something.
I'm just here to say hi. Can't really stay too long.
Oh, no problem. I'm glad you
Back
jumped
in
in.
New York, and I have a show tonight, but I just
Really?
wanted to learn. Don't look at me. Can just not look.
Oh, you're great.
I'm not Zoom material at the moment.
Oh, you're a lot prettier than I am.
So who's online? Is there anyone else but you
Yeah,
and me?
Tony Dollar's online,
Cool.
but he doesn't have a camera and a mic. So, and Allison was just online a second ago. She just
Cool.
got off.
What are you talking about?
Well, we're just talking a little bit about vocalists.
I had to plug my computer in. But
Yeah.
listen.
Yep. I'm going to mute you. Just let me know when you want to say.
Please go ahead.
I muted myself. Okay. So I was just talking about vocalists. So when I decided, hey, I need to start finding a vocalist that is better than me, I started out by just getting on Facebook and looking around and asking people I knew, musicians in the community. And honestly, I had a hard time. I've had a lot of people. I even put an ad in. I put an ad on a college campus. I printed out an ad, and that led to. I got a lot of calls, but there were always voices that were classically trained. Voices that are like that. I can't use this for pop music. I can't. This doesn't fly. Not that there's anything wrong with that voice, but that's the kind of voice that would be for a soloist in a choir or on stage, with a theater group or something like that. So there's a time and a place for those kinds of voices. Those voices are perfect for that. But for what I'm doing, it's, pop and most sync music is going to sound much more conversational. So I finally just decided, I finally just decided I needed to branch out. And so I started going around Phoenix and having cocktails at different little venues where they do live music. And people, you guys probably know it's hard to make money that way. So you find all these struggling musicians that every once in a while you find somebody that's freaking amazing. So I actually was in this courtyard at this little place called the Camelback Inn. It's just a Marriott hotel. And in Phoenix, all the hotels have these big courtyards because the weather's so perfect there that they also have this outside music and stuff. And there was a guy there, and he was playing the guitar, and it was Cameron. And I was listening to him, and he was playing all this sort of grunge, sort of 90s stuff. And he had this kind of long hair, and he looked like a, what do you call it? An angst musician, like so many musicians are, full of somberness. So I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, I love your voice. Would you have any interest in doing any kind of music for sync, or just can I hire you to record some stuff?" He's like, "Yeah, dude. Yeah, that'd be cool, man." But he didn't have. He had no idea what to. He'd never done that before. He never even recorded for somebody else. So anyway, long story short, we got him into my little home studio and started recording him. And so not everything we've recorded I've released, because some is just better than others. But I follow his schedule in Phoenix, and when I'm bored, I'll go and just go have a beer or have a glass of wine or something at one of the venues he plays at. He plays like 4 or 5 times a week, and he's a full-time student. He's studying music business, and I'll go and just listen to him play because I mean, that guy, he just has a tonality in his voice. And then I met a couple singers through our class. I've met Laura, who's on right now, and who has an amazing voice.
I'm listening and cleaning my kitchen and listening, so I'm not being that student.
No problem. And I've met Brittany, and now Brittany's voice is so very current. And the reason this is just my opinion, so take this with a grain of salt, but Brittany has a voice, and she's accessible, by the way, guys. You can hire her. She's very, very easy to hire. She loves working on other people's tracks. So if you ever have a track you think her voice would work on. In fact, that big license deal that Josh Doyle just got last week was with a song with Brittany's voice on it, that push-pull song. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. She's an amazing. As much as I don't want to share her, because I found her first kind of thing, but that's stupid. You guys need to use her. She's an amazing musician. We're here to share the knowledge, share the love. And I don't have enough stuff to keep her busy anyway. So, but anyway, there's a lot of really, really good voices in this class. But I do want to, let's talk about this for a second. The concept of what is current is a tough target because it's constantly moving, and there's a lot of types of voices that are current at the same time. But I will say there are certain themes you see over and over again. Themes, maybe not themes, but attributes to voices that really work for sync music. And one of them, not all of them, is a timbre in people's voice that's kind of raspy, kind of a raspy, raw voice. Think of Pink. Pink is a great example of that real raw, raspy voice. It's kind of like a rocker chick, a Janis Joplin kind of voice. Not that raw. She's super raw, but just that kind of, and I can't even explain it, but it has something to do with how people are, when they're singing, they have sort of an airiness in their voice. It's sort of like as they're singing, almost more air comes through their vocal cords than tone. And I have no idea how that works. But it works a lot for current music. Here's the other thing I want to say. If anybody's out there, this is going to be recorded, so anybody rewatching this, oftentimes music that's current and popular and sought after is very conversational, not just in the words, but in the pitch, okay? So if I go really high into a big belting chorus, that's a very old school way of singing where your chorus is real high and big. I still love that personally, but it's not very conversational. If we were talking and I wanted to say something like poignant, like I wanted to get to the point of, hey, everyone's got problems. Maybe that's the point I'm trying to make. Hey, Kate. I see Kate just got online. How you doing?
Good.
Good. We're talking about vocals here. But if we get to a point where our chorus is really big and swelled up and huge and that's going to be very hard to that reeks of, not, that's probably not a good word, that has the flavors of old school choruses. But if our chorus is our pitch is almost within conversational limits, like if I'm a male, like my voice range when I'm talking probably goes down to about here and probably goes up to about here when I'm passionate and angry. That right there. But if I start singing and my voice suddenly goes way above that, way up there, that's not natural for where my conversational voice is. So why would if I'm trying to make my voice sound very conversational in my music, why would I want my pitch to go outside of that range? Does that make sense? And I think that if
I
you're,
like to make a comment.
go for it.
I mean, I kind of agree with that, but you have to make sure you're not telling people to, kind of be at such a lower level of the the notes, that they don't get up to that bursting chorus. So I think there has to be a way for the voice to pop, maybe without it being operatic or too up there.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I find choruses to be more, not as exciting if the notes don't at least go somewhere a little bit of a stretch. So I
Sure.
think it's how can you keep it conversational, even when you have to kind of ratchet it up, even in the notes maybe a little higher. You know what I mean? There's like a trick to that, right?
Absolutely. And everything I'm saying is there's no rule here. This is just an observation I've had. If you're trying to go after a conversational vocal, my point is just if you're going to go outside your normal talking range, it better be very intentional. If you're just bumbling your way into trying to find a melody, I would suggest come back to your conversational vocal range. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, but if you love that note and it's working for the song and it's a little higher outside of your conversational range, then go for it. Absolutely. So yeah, I don't want to make any kind of hard, fast rule. You're right, Laura. Sometimes the song just calls for the range of notes, the intervals to go up or low, or maybe it's lower. So anyway, it's just an observation. I'm looking for details, and I would love you guys' observations if you have any. What causes people to say, "Hey, this song sounds current right now"? Does anybody have any thoughts on that? Kate, I'm going to unmute you if you want to say anything.
This vocal, I don't know what they do to the vocals, but the Camila Cabello, it's like a Rihanna sound. It's like, do you know what I'm talking about? It's this vocal effect, and it's everywhere. Maybe not so much an effect as like a way of singing this, like, baby, like it's harsh. It's very, I don't know, that sounds current to me.
Are you, can you give me a song so I can look it up and see what you're talking about?
Yeah, the big hits right now. The biggest one is that girl, she left Fifth Harmony, and her name is Camila Cabello. And boy, she's everywhere, and she has a bunch of hits, and it's all over the top 40. And to me,
Havana.
It's similar. That one, yeah, and the other one that's like, and I could try to run, but it would be useless. And I find myself, I want to hear her just like with a guitar, because it's so processed that I don't know what this girl really sounds like. If you know what they're doing to her, like, let us know, because it's a lot.
Let me see if I can find this song. Is it called Never Be the Same?
Yeah, that one is like the big one. Havana too.
Okay. Yeah. She's going into.
So, and then the chorus gets like whiny.
Yeah. No, it sounds like she's going into her head voice in that pre-chorus. She's going, she's going to this real high little, it's almost like falsetto in that section. And I think that's, kind of works for the song. I would say that would be a hard song to get synced though, because of that. So I see what you're saying. But I'm wondering let's look at songs that are currently being synced right now. Let's check out, let's see, can I share? I think I can. Let me share my playlists with you. Can you, when I just hit play a second ago, did you hear it? Oh, hold on. Share computer sound. Here we go. Oh, man. Okay, see if you can hear this. If I play it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So now I'm going to jump over to, let's just look at the making money in music, the music breakdowns that Sonnet.
That's it. I finally lost my patience. I gave my heart to many medications. It's over. You're done. Hey, I got my ticket. For the shit. Can you dance for the shit?
This is very.
Can you shit while dancing? Can you move for the shit?
Notice the range of vocals right now is just
Can you dance for the shit? Can you shit while dancing? Can you move for the shit? Can you shit while dancing? Can you dance for the shit?
Not even this.
Can you shit while dancing? You could shit while dancing. Can you dance for the shit? Can you shit while dancing? Can you dance for the shit?
That's a weird song. Let's jump. Now this one definitely goes up. It's not really that high though. All right, let's check out another one.
And we can breathe again.
I don't know that song. Danger Twins. Listen to how conversational that is.
It's just so effortless, so effortless. We feel so fun, I must confess. We make it look easy, we make it look good. When everybody sees it, they stop and take a look. So
We make it look easy. I mean, it's like you're just almost rapping a note, maybe a couple notes. Again, this is not a rule. I'm just saying this is an observation I've been making. Oh, Tony says, seems like a lot of blending of genres and a lot of modern stuff getting synced. Exactly. Bing, 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 bing. A little bit of electronica, a little bit of acoustic, a little bit of rock, a little bit of, they borrow elements from different things. They often there's a lot of distortion elements in it. Yep. Particularly a marriage of songwriter or rock with electronic elements. Also lots of unique sounds. Love that chorus. Yep, drop and so alive. Yeah, that's so powerful. Let's listen to another one.
my love for you is real. So take me where you want
Very
to.
conversational.
Boy, my heart just still. How do you like your love? How do you like your love? How do you like it? How do you like it?
So really, that word "more" is really the only real sing-songy thing. More, and then everything is how do you like it? That's very conversation, very almost in my range. But that's just another example of where one element is that little refrain that's going over and over again. The more is the part that's sing-songy. Everything else is just kind of talked. Let's check out another one.
I think that I'll keep loving you way past 65. We made a language for us two. We don't need to describe. Every time you call on me, I
So
drop
far,
what I do.
same ingredients.
You are my best friend and we've got some shit to shoot.
I love that.
I know what you want. That's in another song I've heard. Tell me if there's a side.
Which
How
one?
you spell on me?
Which one are you talking about?
Another song I love. I think that dun, 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 I've heard that in other songs.
Oh, have you?
Each other's stuff, right?
Yeah.
Or is it
Yeah.
inspired? We'll say that nicely, inspired.
If you remember the name of it, let me know. I'm curious to hear it. I'm sure I've heard it. So anyway, I think you guys have kind of got the idea of what I was talking about. Again, this is just an observation, and I think a lot of, as songwriters, a lot of us come from places in which we're really we think of songs as being sort of anthemic, which is kind of like a big chorus, Guns N' Roses big chorus, or a Adele, or these big things, which there's a lot of freaking great music that way. And I'm not suggesting we change our style. I'm just saying for sync, if you're trying to get a placement in a sync song, consider your choruses, your hooks being incredibly simple, almost stupidly simple, and just a quick phrase you're repeating, like "There's more to this than meets the eye," or whatever, and then you just say it in a "There's more to this than meets the eye," just something that's not too far out of my range or not too below it. It's just kind of sitting there, and then you put some amazing production elements around it if you can. Any other observations you guys want to talk about? Stuff you've been noticing? I'll tell you one that I have, which is production observation, and that I'm trying to kind of reverse engineer, that I haven't figured out exactly how to do yet, is songs that have like a little spot where something jumps in, like a little hit, either a vocal hit or a synth or something that just kind of boop comes in, and it's really distorted and reverbed out, and it's not part of the main instruments. It's just let me show you an example. I'm starting to collect some songs that have this in it. Let's see here. Distorted hits. Okay. So like this one here.
Darling, what you got for me? My timing's off to the 10th degree. They can trick you, but you've got to save me. I take a bite of you, come play with me.
I don't know where it is. Somewhere in here. There it is. Okay, let me play that again. Did you hear that, like, wow, that kind of came in? Did you hear that?
No, do it again. Where is it?
It's low. It's like, wow. Okay, let me show you again.
Do it again.
I say, oh darling, could you satisfy me? 'Cause I'm lonely, roaming down the street.
She says, satisfy me. And then you hear this wow happen.
Okay.
It's just a little weird thing that I'm hearing a lot lately in songs. Let's find another one here.
I feel like everything is pitched nowadays.
I used to believe.
Like just playing with pitch, and then you'll hear a phrase, and then you'll hear it down the octave, and then do you find that?
You mean the vocals where they make it real low and make it real high and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I feel like that's everywhere.
Yeah, that's pretty common. That is actually changing the format of a vocal. And I can show you how to do that in Melodyne. It's really easy.
Okay.
And you can make it, and you'll hear someone's voice and then suddenly it sounds like a lady will be singing, and suddenly it sounds like a guy kind of repeats the phrase in this like sound, but it's still
The baby voice is popular too.
the baby voice. Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah.
Baby voice.
And that's the same thing. They just take that and you don't change the pitch. You're actually changing the format of the voice. And there's a tool you can use in Melodyne where you just crank that thing up and suddenly it goes way into that and way low. And yeah, I think it gets a little overdone sometimes, but it is a fun effect. Here, let's listen to this one here. This is a Bieber song.
We're burning on the edge of something beautiful. Something beautiful. Selling a dream. Smoking mirrors keep us waiting on a miracle. On a miracle. They go through the darkest of days, having to heartbreak away. Never let you go, never let me down. Oh, it's been a hell of a ride, driving the edge of a knife. Never let you go, never let me down. Don't you give up, nah, nah, nah. I won't give up, nah, nah, nah. Let me love you, let me love you. Don't you give up, nah, nah, nah. I won't give up, nah, nah, nah. Let me love you, let me love you.
I'm not sure where I heard it. This is that vocal chop. Let it go just a little longer.
Don't fall asleep at the wheel. We got a million miles ahead of us. Miles ahead of us. All that we need.
You hear little things in the background.
Awakening to know we're good enough. Yeah, we're good enough. They go through the darkest of days.
Anyway, let me show you another one that I know where it is. And it's the one that what is it called? Feel It Still, which you guys know so well. Let's add that to Distorted here. So right there.
Can keep my hands on myself.
Did you hear that? That wah, 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 wah.
Can keep my hands on myself.
Did you hear it?
Yeah.
So, and then they do it again. Let's see.
Let me kick it like it's 1986 now. Might be over now, but I feel it still. Got another mouth to feed. Leave it with the babies till the mama call the grave digger. Gone with the fallen leaves. Am I coming out of left field? Ooh, I'm a rebel just for kicks now. I've been feeling it since 1966.
That little woo right before the chorus. It's like a little vocal yell or something, and then they put a lot of distortion on it, so it's like grindy and gritty, but then they throw it through a lot of reverb after that, so it smooths it out again. And it's a really fun little effect, and I really like that. In fact, Laura and I have been working on a song right now that I have a little sound similar to that in it, that is like this cool little bloop in it. Are you okay if I share that, Laura?
Which one is that? The one we took a pause on?
Yeah, the one we just took a pause on.
Go ahead, that's fine.
Okay. Let's see if I can get out of the screen. Stop share. What did we call it?
Is that what the girls say? Is that the one you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you. Yeah, that's what we called it something before. I think.
So no, that's not it. Hold on. Give me just a second. Do you know what number that is? Oh, it's 102. Okay, let me share this here. iTunes. Share screen. Okay. This is pretty raw, guys. We're playing around with ideas and stuff, but there's a sound that I found that just stumbled on, and it adds an element of interest and an element of freshness that is similar to what we were just talking about, with just a kind of a distorted sound that's just a hit.
I play my game, I won't be tamed. Strike the match, babe, go on, fan the flame. I don't back down, soon you're gonna find out. That's what this is all about. They're gonna stand in line, gonna shout my name. Ooh, yeah, that's all I want it, yeah, yeah, that's all I need it, yeah. Oh, come on, serve it, ooh, yeah, yeah, that's all I want it, yeah, yeah, that's all I need it, yeah. Oh, come on, serve it, ooh, yeah, I play.
So that's not even the most recent version. We've done a lot of changes on it since then. But did you hear that little sound though? Like right here at the end of this.
I play my game.
That. Anyway, I hope that gives you kind of an idea of what I'm talking about. But it's an interesting element that I hear a lot of in modern production, is using these it's just little sounds that keep an interest. Let's see. Tony says, those are real claps. Yeah, they must be. Sounds great. Way cool. Nope, they're not. Tricked you. They are virtual instruments. I mean, they're recorded off of real claps. Okay. I don't like synthetic claps, like you can turn an 808 into a clap or something like that, or 909 claps or whatever. I don't like those. I mean, they're okay for electronic stuff, but if I'm trying to actually have a real clap, I either need to do it myself or I need to use a virtual instrument to do that. If you'd like, I can show you the programs I use for that. Do you want to see that? Okay, would love that. Alrighty. Let me stop sharing this if I can. And then now I'm going to share.
I feel like he's a robot because, like, I see everyone else's faces, but I only get the chat.
I know. our robot friend, Tony Dollar.
Yeah. Virtual Tony.
Exactly. All right.
I have boots and claps that I use from, I think it's like That Sound is the name of it's just like a pack of samples. I like it.
Yeah. Which one do you use?
I think the company is That Sound Drums or something like that.
Yeah.
It's boots and claps.
I think I have that one as well. Here's one I'm working on that I started today, and then I'll go to the next thing. Very funky. There's a company called Ample Sound that I love their guitars. Were you able to hear that at all?
No.
Oh, sorry. That's embarrassing. All right.
That's okay. I dropped bacon on a lady today, so.
You dropped bacon on you?
On a stranger, yeah.
That's pretty awesome. How did that happen? How did you drop bacon on a stranger?
Oh, I thought you were saying how did something happen with the computer? Oh, she was on the phone and I just tried to sneak by her and like grab a package. It was up high and I'm like 5'1". So I thought I'd like discreetly like just sneak in and grab a package, and then I turn and like another one's fallen on her. She's on the phone. I'm like, I'm sorry. Did I just drop bacon on you?
That is awesome.
She's cool with it, so.
She didn't fight you on it.
No, she was busy. She's on the phone.
Oh. All right, let's try this again. Why aren't I able to share that? Share screen. Oh, here we go. All right. So here's my Ableton Live session. I guess some of you have seen this 1,000 times in my videos. So I'm working, Ample Sound is a company that does guitars, and I really like their guitars. So they love that I use their guitars all the time. So they actually sent me their new one and asked if I would use it, gave it to me for free if I would use it in a song. So it's like a funky electric guitar, okay? So here's the, I've got two of them running here. This is sort of how it sounds. You can't hear it?
Oh, no.
Shoots. Hold on. Why isn't that playing? All right. Share computer sound. Let me try it one more time here.
No.
Okay, I've got an idea. Sorry, guys. Let's do. All right, well, I think I can send it this way. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. All right, let's see if you can hear this.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. All right. So this is two different guitars playing, and this is how the song sounds. So I don't really know where I'm going with it yet, but I just am trying out these guitars and stuff and adding stuff to it. So it's a lot of fun. You could hear at the end of that, I threw in Exhale, which is the program that I made a video about a couple weeks ago. That has a lot of those little vocal chops that sound like little kids. Or let me just solo that for you, and then I can change the way it sounds. It's a really fun program to play around with. I don't know if it really fits this song, but I was just putting it in there to see how things sounded. You're going to notice a lot as you produce. It's so much as trial and error. You just got to try stuff and then go, oh, that was a waste of an hour, but at least I tried it. But here's the bass I'm using. It's also made by this company, Ample Sound, and it's like a slap bass.
Yeah, I have the acoustic.
You have the acoustic?
Yeah, the upright.
Oh yeah, it's so good, huh?
Mhm.
Yep, I love their stuff. And this is simple. Now notice here, and that I am using everything very sparingly. And in fact, I put a more complicated bass line in, but it was too much. The drums are so busy. Here's the drums up here, that you don't need a lot of other instruments in there. I mean, that takes up a lot of frequencies. So I made my guitars super sparingly. Let's just take out. I'll just show you, kind of break it down here. So very basic. They're just coming in a little bit. Now I'm going to add the horns in and watch what happens there. Notice that the horns played and then the guitar played. They kind of change space, so they're not all overlapping at once. And that's just something you kind of pick up along the way. Is it makes things sound cleaner. You don't need everything playing at once all the time. When you can separate things out, they call that linear producing. So only one thing kind of comes in at a time. There is some overlap, but don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say it's totally non-overlapped, but it gives space where you can hear things. Now I'll add the bass in, and the bass just adds a few things too. Okay, so anyway, I just wanted to give you an idea of and then I added these little effects down here. I have just collected little vocal chops from different programs over the years, and I just have made some programs with those. In fact, if you look at this is these are a bunch of samples from a girl who sounds like Lil' Kim. That's why I called it that, but it's not really Lil' Kim.
I have a friend who does that to me.
Really?
He collects. He'll tell me, like, in 3 months, he'll tell me, like, oh, your voice is on this video, and like, I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, oh yeah, I collected some little samples and used it in something. Like, oh, okay.
You're like, pay me royalties then.
It's just little pieces, though. It's tiny pieces.
Yeah, that actually could have been copyrighted, but it's too hard to do.
Now we're friends.
Yeah. So I've got all these little.
What they gonna do? Watch your back. Yeah, we just trying to stay alive. Ooh, like what?
So I don't use a lot of these because I'm not really that into hip hop, and it would sound like I'm a big poser if I tried. But here's some other ones.
I gotta get you. Don't play with my money. Dancing, Loke. Come on.
Some of them are really stupid, and then some of them are great. And so every once in a while,
this is a hip hop stick up. Say it out loud. Move that fanny.
So in this song, this is where I used him down here. I think you get the gist. I might have done too much already. I've noticed that if you do a lot of those little vocal improvs, it starts sounding like you pulled them from a sample pack and threw them in. It doesn't sound natural. So I just use a little bit, but it gives energy. Anything to give energy, especially on a song like this. I need energy. I don't want anything like laid back here, because a lot of sync music is looking for songs with a lot of energy. Okay, Tony, sorry, I'm going to read your comments here. Yep, that is way cool. So funky. That sounds so syncable to me. Oh, I hope so. Thank you. Do you track these through a MIDI controller, or are these riffs more programmed? I can show you how to do that. I did everything on my computer. I can't play the electric guitar, but I can hear when electric guitar fits the part. And that's the difference. You don't have to be a great pianist. You don't have to be a great guitarist. It would help if you are. But if you don't have those skills, you need to learn to determine what would fit this song. Because it's just like cooking. You can either know how to cook every sauce, or you can be a really good, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like an arranger. You're arranging these ingredients and you're putting them together. So if let's say you wanted to make chicken marsala, some cooks, some purists wouldn't say it's real chicken marsala unless you made that sauce, that marsala sauce, from scratch with marsala wine and yada, yada, yada. But if you're somebody like me, I can't make those sauces, but I can pick a really good sauce, and I can find some really good fresh mushrooms and chop those up and put those together, and they'll sound amazing. And I get credit for the whole thing sounding amazing. Whether or not I just arranged it, I just assorted it. That's not assembled is the word I'm looking for. Become a really good assembler. So I'm just assembling really great parts and putting them together. I'm not playing in them from scratch. Okay. So going back, what's that?
It's arranging. You're arranging.
Yeah. Okay. I am a little bit. Yeah. But I'm not playing the part from scratch. So let me show you real quick what I mean. So here is this horn part. Now these horns is when I recommended that little download that I give out. Do I have to pay to use those samples? No, man. Heck no. I don't use anything I'd have to pay for. I don't want to have to remember which samples I've had to do. So when you buy a piece of software, almost every software is free licensable, meaning if you buy a virtual instrument and use it in your song, they cannot hold you to the copywriting of that sound if you put it anywhere else. Meaning if you make a breakout hit and you use their software, they have no strings to that. You've purchased their software with a one-time payment. There are some licensing virtual instruments out there. I didn't know this, but somebody told me this the other day, that I think this was somebody that Kathy interviewed in her call, he said, I avoid any software in which I have to, that I'm not allowed to use it for public distribution. And I was like, I didn't even know there were any. I thought they all had the agreement that if you buy their software, you can use it. But I'm going to try to pay attention to that a little bit more. I'll let you know if there's a software that I would say avoid because of that. Okay, so there's this horn part. So here is the sample. Okay, now let me plug my fancy little MIDI keyboard, Bluetooth keyboard in, so I can play it. I got to connect it. It's not really fancy. I was just kidding about the fancy part. All right, so now I've got my keyboard plugged in, and I'm going to play this. So the way this works is you can either play this horn part each note, and you can play the notes, or you can play a phrase. So you turn on this thing called the animator down here, and they've already recorded a bunch of phrases for you. So I found one I liked under this pop place. Pop Heavy Horns is the song. So they have like 5 or 6 songs for each genre. So you pick a genre, and then you can pick a song you like. I don't know these songs. And then the note you play is the note, the key that phrase will be in. So if I played this, it would sound like this. And then it repeats. And then I can find another song and okay, so I found one that I liked that I thought worked right here called Heavy Horns. And I'm just playing it the very beginning of that phrase. If you look at the actual MIDI note I'm playing, this is all I'm doing. I'm playing just a tiny bit of it. So if I hit play, now if I had expanded that, it would play more of that phrase. I didn't want all that. It didn't fit the song. So again, I'm just assembling here. I'm assembling parts of this that I like. So I like that piece. That's all I took from that one. On the next one, I have another instance of this software down here, and I liked this phrase here. That's all I have for the horns. The whole horn part is just those two little bits. Okay, so that's the horns. So I'm going to jump over to, let me know if this is helping at all, or if I should just move to something else.
Oh, that's cool. Tony, it's not ample. That's Native Instruments, right?
Yep, exactly. That is I started talking about ample sound, and then I moved over to talking about horns. These horns are called session horns, and it's actually made by a company called E Instruments, but they license it to Native Instruments. So you find it on the Native Instruments website. But it's a real simple horn program. They have a pro version that you can do a lot more with. I'd like to get someday, but right now it gives you 4 horns that are in tons of phrasings that I use and I put in different places. Okay, so ample sound, let's start with the bass. Here's the bass part. Now the bass, I actually just played the notes. So I found this here, and I'm just playing a funk bass. So it gives me that, have you ever watched a funk player play? They play with, they call it a slap. They're hitting the note hard. That says pop. Let's see if I switch this to the articulation. There it is. Okay, so there's slap and pop. And they sound a little different. I was using the pop one, which I don't know why. So the bass here, I just figured out some notes that I thought fit. There's not a lot of complication there. It's just trial and error and I'm not a bass guitarist, but because I'm a drummer, I've played next to bass guitar so much that I have a love for the bass, because I used to try to match the kick drum with the bass notes on all the phrasings. And I started realizing that that's a bad way to play. Sometimes it's good to hit a couple at the same time. It gives the same feel. But you need to leave room for the bass guitar to do its thing and the bass drum to do its thing. When I say bass drum and kick drum, I mean the same thing. I try to say kick drum, but sometimes I say bass drum. Kick drum and the bass guitar, you want to have kind of doing their own thing a little bit, but they come back together and they're on the same notes to give the groove, but then they kind of go off and do their own thing. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. That if you listen to this with the drums, you're going to hear that it's not playing on every kick drum. So right here it's going bump, bump, because that's kind of the vibe of this groove, is that one and.
Yeah. All
right, so now let's jump over to the guitars. So the guitars, now this is where I cheated. Okay. So Ample Sound has a thing now called Riffer. So what I did is I stole one of the Riffer, not stole, but I'm going to just move this over here. So we're going to start from scratch here on here. So here is my spot. So I want something. This whole song is in the key of C. And this is now in the electric guitar, I've got neck, which sounds like this. Whoops. Nope, that sounds like a horn. Okay. And then I've got both. Whoops. I'm playing a sustain here. Oops. Sorry. Okay, so here's how it sounds with both. Neck means you're playing more up on the neck, I think. I'm not really sure.
No, it's the pickups.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, so you can get your bridge pickup and you can blend them. It's like a real guitar. This is cool.
Okay, cool. Well, I don't know how electric guitars work. But their Funk is a brand new one. They just came out. It's like an add-on to this guitar. This is one of their original. This is just a Fender Stratocaster.
Oh, that's the funk. All right, maybe I'm wrong about that then. I couldn't see. I thought that was like the pickups. I have no idea then.
Well, I think it is changing which pickups are being used in coils and stuff. I think you're right. I just don't know exactly what it's doing, but
then it's weird that it doesn't have a bridge.
yeah, I don't know. So in this, you can do a strummer. Now, strummer is a great thing. You turn that on, and you can actually strum chords. So I'm just holding down a note, okay? And then this is the sequencer right here, and I can choose what I want in the sequencer. Or I can play notes down here. Okay, and then I can change the chords down here with some key switches lower on, and so I can change which key I'm in and which part of the neck I want to, if I want to invert to the second inversion. It's pretty awesome, really, really cool. Okay, all that being said, there's another thing they added. This is called the riffer, and it adds little cool riffs that have been pre-recorded for you. So I started searching through here, and you can play it and demo it. So I just found... So there's tons of them in here. And let's say I like this one, okay? And I can choose which key I want it in over here. So now when I play it, pretty cool. And I can choose what kind of time signature and what I quantize it to. So now I'm gonna can you see what I'm looking at right now? Okay. So now I can check this out. You grab the MIDI and I just drag it into my host. Boom. Now that little riff that I liked is in my host and it's in the key of C, and this is what it would sound like. Let me mute some of the other things. And again, this probably isn't going to work well because they weren't I'll mute that one too. But do you see what I did though? I just dragged in a riff that somebody has pre-recorded, put it in the key I wanted in, and then it lines it up with the. So let's find a different one. Now I know I want kind of a funk, so we're going to go over here to funk. Ooh, I like that one. All right. So I'm going to stop it in the riffer, and then I'm going to grab the MIDI and just drag it in. And now here it is. And we can add that in. Pretty cool, huh? So what I did is for this song, if you guys are interested in the software, definitely contact Ample Sound directly. I have, they know me and they know my course I'm doing, and just tell them you're with a Triple Threat Artist group or class, and see if they can give you a little bit of a discount, okay?
So
but
then I can plug it into Cubase.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can work with Cubase, so all the different DAWs.
Yep. In fact, when I first learned about this, it was done, I think, shown in Logic or something like that. But yeah, as long as your DAW works with the VST plugins, which I think every one of them do, yes. You just drop it in. Yeah, I mean, you work in the sequencer area if you want for strummer. Yes, it is a game changer, Tony. But it is a little hard sometimes finding a riff that works. And I had to modify it. I found one I liked, and I don't remember which one it was, but this is what I ended up with here. So it's very simple, but I kept this and I added some bunk, some of that in there. So what I do is I find a riff that's pretty close, and then I add it in a little bit and tweak it, which is great because it allows you. It's already kind of done the majority of the work for you. You just got to find one that kind of matches your style, put it in there, and then I actually add a little funk to it. So I went down here and I have a groove going on, which I'm swinging. I swing my 16th notes throughout this whole song, and I added that to this clip here. So now let me put it all back together the way I had it before. So if I'm playing just this little section right here, and I take this off, it's not going to be a huge difference, but you'll notice it. And I'll put it back on. It's a little hard to hear because it's so fast, but the 16th note swing is consistent throughout the rest of the song on the other tracks, like the groove, what do you call it? The drums. The drums. I don't know why that's hard for me right now. I'm tired. I'm jet lagged. But the drums are playing in that 16th note groove up here. I've got to see that groove. I've got it locked into I'm swinging the 16th notes by 25. I don't know what 25 means, but you can adjust it less or more, and it gives the whole drums a little different feel. Let me show you what that sounds like. Okay, so that's how it sounds now. If I turn that off, put it back on. The best way to show this is probably to really drive it. So now I'll exaggerate it here. It's sloppy sounding after a while. But anyway, long story short, I'm adding a little bit of swing to it. I'm a big believer in using swing. It gives so much feel and humanness to your grooves and to everything. And then once you kind of figure out what your groove swings at, then you start adding that to the other instruments so that everything sort of locks in. And then you can break it a little bit too. I mean, if things are too mechanical sounding or too lined up, you can always change that.
I have a question.
Yeah, what's up?
So I'm interested in the swinging 16th notes.
Yeah.
Since I've been hanging out with you. So are you building those? Is that what you're doing? You're knowing what you want and you're going into your drum samples and you're building them, right? You're not having a pre-made, some of your stuff's all pre-made, then you pick and choose and you edit it the way you've been saying that.
It just depends on the song.
Okay.
This one in particular, I started with, I combed through a bunch of grooves,
Right.
and I just found one that I kind of liked. Let me show you where I did it. In the PAX area, I used I think it was called Breakbeats. Yeah.
I knew that was familiar.
Oh, yeah. So I found one I liked. Okay. Let's say I took this one. We don't have to, but let's say I did. I dropped that in, and now I've got this drum track already lined up. I've got a drum rack. Your DAW is going to be different, but you're going to have, there's packs of pre-made drum loops. Sometimes I use an audio loop. This one isn't audio. This is an actual, which is great because now I can tweak things. So I can solo it. Okay, so that's a little too much for me. But let's take a different one. Let's take this one. Drop it in. Oh, it still kept the other rack. Now let me get rid of this. Oh, shoot. Let's just delete this track, and I'm going to grab this. And so I'm going to grab this, drop it in here. Oops. Okay, so this is the track that was pre-made. I just dropped it in, and I'm starting with something. Now, because I drum, it's very hard for me. It takes a lot of time for me to find a drum groove already made that's going to fit my style without me doing a lot of tweaking. In this case today, it actually worked. But a lot of times I can't do this because I'll spend hours trying to find the perfect loop. And then I go out to stores and looking for loops. And then after 6 hours, I'm like, what have I done today? I could just make this myself. And then I start making it. I'm like, this is not that hard. I don't know why I thought it was so hard. But there's a lot of creativity injected into these things that I wouldn't have thought of myself. Like I wouldn't have thought of that little shaker at the end there that came in, right? There. That was cool, you know. So they're going to have a lot of creativity from people that have put this together that I wouldn't have thought of. But let's say I like that, but I want to add a hi-hat on the off notes. So let's crank this up. I got to change the velocity. Okay, and then we're going to go. And then we're going to add that there. We're going to add that there. We're going to add that there. And then I'm going to just grab the whole thing and copy that like that. Okay, so I added that cool little offbeat hi-hat there. It's a little loud, but... And then I want to duplicate it, but I want to make it a little quieter on the on beat. So it's going to go soft, loud, soft, loud. Cool. All right, now let's add a little swing to that because swing helps the whole world go around. And then that's really an eighth note swing. So let's add an eighth note type swing to it. So terrible. Let's try that again. Terrible. I think we need 16 that swing. Yeah. Cool. Now if we wanted to add a little more. It just shuffles a little bit more. Don't have to have it, but whatever. So that's one way to do it, Laura. If I were to make this by scratch, I could delete that, or I'd find a drum sound I liked. And then I would go in and I'd start drawing in my stuff. And then let's bring all these up. And then I do something like that. Now, these samples, it makes it complicated because these samples actually are sampled pieces of drum set sounds. And when they recorded them, they kept a tail on it, which means the snare has a kick at the back of it. You know, it just makes it complicated like this. You probably can't hear that. Let me turn that up.
Tony.
What's up?
Reading Tony's.
Why do you say that, Tony? Why are you in 2002?
Well, welcome. We're glad to have you.
Yeah.
Guys,
Welcome.
actually, while I've interrupted, I got to sign off. Thank you so much, Zion.
You bet. Good to see you, Kate.
Bye, guys.
Bye. So that's one way I could start creating a groove. But if I wanted to, I could go into, like, if I have loops, and I do use a lot of loops, especially for I hate to even tell you this because it sounds so much like cheating, but it's what everybody's doing now. So I go into a loop. I have a thing called the Loop Loft, and I just love their the loops, and these are all audio. So here I'm just sampling them here. Okay, let's say I like that one. I can just bring it in. Now I've got this cool, quick little loop here. Whoops. And I can just start looping it. So now if I wanted to add that to the song and see how that sounded, probably would sound weird, but okay, so that's just a cool, it's played with brushes. This whole sample pack is all brushes. Now the problem with this, though, is that I can't quantize the notes as well. You can do some quantizing with audio. Quantizing meaning lining up to the nearest 16th or 8th note. But to do everything with it's a little tough. So if I can find a drum pack that doesn't allow me to have a wave file, I try to go with that, because if I was like, I love this groove, but that tambourine's too loud in that groove. Well, with an audio track, I can't turn down the tambourine. It's got one audio track. It's either down or up. I can't independently turn down the sounds. So the great thing about having a drum rack or a drum kit is because you can change those sounds. And that gives you so much more flexibility. Does that make sense? I'm not sure I completely answered your question, Laura, but let me know if I did or didn't.
Makes a lot of sense.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, there's a lot. So it sounds like it's all different kinds of ways, from getting big chunks of samples. But it sounds like what you're saying is that it's better if it can be as a MIDI, maybe, so that you can maneuver it, or that the drums are broken up into each component, so you could get rid of the kick drum at a certain point or something. Exactly. And I have so many different types of drum kits, drum racks that I've collected over the years. And some of them have awesome interfaces, and some of them, their interfaces are horrible. So I would start with whatever is in you're using Cubase, right? Mm-hmm. I would start with Cubase's drum racks, whatever they're called. I don't know if they're called drum racks, but start with they're going to probably have some awesome stuff, and get to know that. That's going to be your bread and butter. What is 16th note swing called? Like in my world of jazz, I know what everything's called. But you have this thing, you're calling it, it's your word for it.
Well, in Ableton, it's called groove, because you're affecting, so you're applying groove to a MIDI track.
I see.
And there's different kinds of grooves. So, like, if I select a MIDI track here.
Swing funky. I see that's what
you have
there.
This is actually the drum. This funky that's listed here is actually the name of that loop. Somebody named it that. Yeah. But if we're dealing with swing, there's a little thing here that edits that track. It's going to be different years. Don't worry about that. But there's an element where I can change the groove of the MIDI track. So in this, and then when I select it, you can hear it being swung. So here's like 16th notes, and then here's it swung.
I see.
And you can add in more and more swing to it to where it sounds ridiculous. And then 8th note swing is the same sort of thing, but sounds kind of like a gallop after a while. Now, the cool thing about groove, the reason why they don't call it just plain swing is because groove actually can affect the velocities of the notes also, not just the timing of the notes. So if I went in here and applied a groove from like hip hop and applied that, can you see here kind of the example it's giving you? Not every note's the same hit. So it's giving a certain amount of randomization to how hard certain notes are going to be hit when you apply it to your beats. I generally don't go with these pre-grooves because I don't always know what I'm going to get. I mean, it's easier for me to just swing to it. And then if I feel like the velocities need to be changed, I just do that myself. I'm not relying on it to do that. But yeah, this is an often overlooked area. A lot of people would say this is more of the advanced part of your DAW. Don't let this be advanced. Let this be basic to you because it's such a great tool. It's such a great tool. And it took me years of producing before I was brave enough to even open this area. I was like, I don't know what that is, so I'm not going to get into it. And I knew things needed to have more of a human feel, but I was just afraid to get into it. So I highly encourage you to figure out how that works in yours. Just do a YouTube video search for, applying groove in Cubase or adding swing in Cubase. You'll find all kinds of great stuff on that. All right, guys, it's 8 o'clock, and I've been on here for an hour and a half. I need to get going. Bye, Laura. Tony, did that?
Hear some of that groove you made. That sounds good.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
Okay, yeah, bye.
All right, bye. Tony, did that answer everything for you? Making no use of virtual instruments. Oh, you got to make use of virtual instruments. I mean, you don't have to, but it's a lot easier and they've come so far now to making things easier. Think of yourself as an assembler. You don't have to think of yourself as a producer, as making every part. It's overwhelming, and you have to be a soloist on all kinds of instruments and be proficient at hundreds and hundreds of instruments. That's too much. Just assemble. All right, man. That's been my struggle. Yeah, I hear you. It's all of ours. And when I first started discovering this, I thought I was cheating. I thought it was like, but then I've come to understand the great producers do this. There's no producer that's proficient on every horn and every, guitar and everything. It would be great if I was. I'm sure it'd make me even better as a producer, but you don't have to be. All right, man. Have a great day. Good luck there at work. I'll talk to you later.